Alright, all you early morning traffic racers out there, welcome back to Under the Radar. And this week's Stunts of the Week comes from not only Call of Late with his stunt Clown on the Loose, but also comes from Mofo Rick with his stunt Car Jumps Over Buzzard. And if you're wondering why in the world we decide to pick these two stunts, well, for the first one, any clown that can bounce back from an explosion and a car bumper hitting him in the face, going God knows what miles per hour, and shaking it off like if he was Darkman, is impressive in our books. And for the other stunt, well, it's self-explanatory, folks. Somebody who's able to jump over a helicopter but yet jump through the blades of the helicopter without getting chopped into tiny bits is definitely impressive in our book, and I got a feeling he's using Kurt Russell's death-proof car, only modified to his liking. And that's the only string theory we're gonna go with for that car. But besides string theories for crazy cars and stunts, folks, I think it's time for us to get ready to rev our engines and see who was the best of the best for this spooky, horrifying month for another edition of the GTA Online Top 6 Tracks of the Month. And the first track that we have up comes from the track creator himself, Genopia, with his said track, G-Boat Party. And the reason we decided to pick this crazy, over-the-top, boat-like race is not only because of the fact that he was able to outdo himself with his Canal Party boat race, but also because of all the spirals, loop-de-loops, and crazy stunts that you'll have to experience firsthand to see how crazy it truly is. And the only tip of advice we have for you fans out there is the same advice that Genopa gives you, and that is picking a four-wheel drive supercar to try to dominate your competition during this very race. And also keeping an eye out for the red checkpoints so you know where in the world to go during this crazy race. And also besides that, have fun. Definitely have fun while doing this race, because trust me, you're gonna have a lot of it while trying to make your way through this. And the next track, or should we say deathmatch that made it in for this month, comes from the creator Ex Machia with her said track, Nosferatu's Castle. And the reason why in the world we decided to pick this spooky-like castle for tracks of the month, well, not only because he pays homage to one of the oldest living vampires in the world, to my knowledge, but also because of the unexpected light combat you'll have during this said map. And not to mention, it's one big giant oversized maze that gives the advantage to no one unless you have vampire vision. So the only tip of advice we have for you fans out there for this said Mausoleum of Madness like deathmatch is this: keep your eyes open at all times for where in the world your opponent's gonna be, and be careful. Yeah, the only best advice we can give for this said crazy deathmatch that's like one of those haunted fun houses. Yeah, the best way to describe it. And the next track that we have up comes from the track creator himself, Pt.2 Mofo, back in the track of the month where he belongs with his said track, Two-Way Slam Jazz. And the reason why we decided to pick this one for the month, folks, is because he decided to take the two-way track that we remembered back on a PS3 system long ago and decided to take it to the extreme by using these speed racer jet-powered like cars that bring more madness than you can possibly imagine. And the only tip of advice we have for you fans out there is to make sure you press L3 at each end of the wall ride, then try to wall ride off the wall to head back onto the ground to collect the other checkpoints. Only advice we have. And also, watch out for your opponents, because there's a high possibility that you will end up in a speed racer-like crash in this speed racer-like track. And Maestro's wondering which speed racer I'm talking about? The newer one. The one with Fred Flintstone in it. You know, John Goodman. That's his name, John Goodman. And the next track that we have up, besides mentioning John Goodman for the tracks of the month for the first time in a long time, comes from none other than Petey Pan Mofo once again with his said car vehicle deathmatch, only known as VDM Apocalypse. And the reason why we decided to pick this for this month, folks, is not only because he would be the first person that we've seen thus far to create one of these crazy twisted metal-like tracks, but also because of the fact that it reminds us a lot of Twisted Metal 2. Now, I would have said Twisted Metal Black with the setup that he had, with the fact that it reminds me a little bit of, Minion's Lair? But either way you look at it, it's a cool track. It has a lot of gadgets and whatnots in there to try to take out your opponent, and a lot of danger around the corner no matter where you decide to run or hide. So the only tip of advice we have for you race deathmatch fans out there is to make sure you're always on the move. Whether you're trying to take out your opponent or trying to get that next power-up that you decided to have over that burning silo, make sure you're always on the move. I know it sounds silly and you're gonna say, duh, when I say this, but trust me folks, in a track like this, you always want to be mobile, trying to get away from your opponent at all times. Well, that's what at least I remembered to get first place in this track, and from what I used to do in Twisted Metal, so good luck out there. And besides Twisted Metal, folks, the next track that we have up that made it to this elite list for this month comes from the creator, Shelby GR, with her said Last Man Standing map of Walking Dead 5. And the reason why in the world we decided to pick this said Last Man Standing match to make it in with the rest of the tracks is simple. Because this track automatically reminds me of the other Last Man Standing map she made for the last gen version that involved the equal amount of people trying to keep you away from needed supplies. Not only that, but it fits in perfect for this Halloween-like theme, and it's incredibly fun to try to stop your friends from getting those supplies at the end of the route. And the only tip of advice we have for you fans out there for this said Last Man Standing map is teamwork makes the dream work. The second you go into every man for himself is when you've already lost this said map. Because you're going to need one person to grab the supplies, another person to try to take out the zombies, and another person on the other side of the team to play lookout just in case the opponent comes a-running to try to take what's rightfully yours. So remember folks, teamwork makes the dream work. And the last but not least track to make it in, and the reason why it's 6 tracks for the month for this month, comes from the creator SJackie777 with their track, The Temple of Boom. And the reason why in the world this track made it in for this month, folks, is not only because it reminds us of Legends of the Hidden Temple with a little hint of Indiana Jones in there, but the fact that he was able to add not only a motorboat race, but also a makeshift part where you have to parachute your way to victory is all the more awesome than it needs to be. So the only tip of advice we have for you fans out there is to make sure you pick the fastest bike you can possibly get to get the upper hand on your opponent before this race heads on over to the boat part. Because if you're not good at driving the Aqua, the boat, or the four-wheeler that can transform into a boat, which I think it's called the Blazer Aqua, you're definitely going to have to need a fast enough bike to make up for that distance. So yeah, definitely get a fast bike, beat your opponent, and hopefully you can survive this makeshift temple of boom. And with that said, folks, wraps it up for another monthly edition of the GTA Online Top 6 Tracks of the Month. And with that said, we might as well head back to this music, and when we return, we'll be back with another Screenshot Spectacular edition of the Foursquare Delight right after this. So don't go anywhere just yet, folks, and stay tuned.